Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori, and I want to talk to you about joy triggers. That's right, joy triggers. Anytime you hear the word trigger, you guys always typically will associate that with something negative. But while you're doing that, you've got to give your brain something to look forward to as far as positivity. So think about the fact that if you're negative, okay, so most people carry a a learned negative trait. So it becomes a part of your behavior, right? Because it's not your personality, it just becomes part of your behavior. So, and especially let's say you're healing your trauma, you're working on yourself, you're trying to, self-work and stuff can be a lot of work, and it can be draining and triggering and anxiety producing, and that's good. That's what we need. So, but where do you find that balance? And that's going to be joy triggers, right? And that is whatever triggers a form of joy. And before you go, nothing triggers joy. No, that's not true. Something triggers joy. You have to find it. So for me, I personally like crochet. I picked up crochet when the pandemic started. So I picked up crochet and I'm actually pretty good at it. So that, I love doing my content. I love doing that. Seriously, it's work, but it's also joyful. I mean, to be fair, so are dealing with my clients. That's joy to me. But if I'm saying outside of work, editing, I actually really enjoy editing. Like, I know it's work, but it really is like enjoyable to me. And it has more to do with my creativity. So I guess instead of saying that specifically, let's say creativity, giving my brain a space to be creative, walking outside in like big mature trees. Talk about create a joy trigger. Holy cow. Some people will like going to the beach. Some people like going to the mountains. Some people like going on a boat, laying by a pool. What triggers joy for you? Okay, the reason I bring this up is because you have to identify them, because if not, you're going to constantly think that all you're doing is work, or constantly sitting in a space of stress, and all of which has to happen for growth. And that's something I want to be very clear on, right? And it's something I say all the time. Stop thinking growth and healing is this like mecca of joy. It's not. It eventually gets there. On the other side of it, it's beautiful, it's shiny, it's warm, it's amazing, and you maintain it. But you got to go through the fire before you can experience all of that pleasure, right? So what this does in identifying your joy triggers is when your mood, and I don't care how healed you are, you're still going to have those days that are like blah, or you're just not going to feel like it. Nobody cares how you feel. So for me, that is my cats, which luckily I have them with me. They bring me great joy. And try to find your joy triggers that aren't people related, because you could say hanging out with my friends, or that's cool, but I want you to think of joy triggers that are just yours. Not that you're going to do with your family, not that you're doing with your spouse and your kids. I mean, that you can do with them, but I don't want you to identify what your joy triggers are based on other people. So what this does is it allows you to focus, this whole practice that I'm telling you, will allow you to focus solely on yourself. Some of you have a hard time doing that. To focus on what it is that you need and focus on what actually brings you joy. And before you go nothing, that's not true. You're allowing yourself to see it as nothing. Everybody has, even in the darkest of deepest of times, there's one thing, even if you just know this used to bring me joy. Okay, so you know it brings you joy. Okay, so you want to start to identify those triggers. Now, this doesn't mean to counteract the bad triggers. I want those to come because that's how you have to process them. But what I want you to do is I want you to now grab your journals for sure, but also grab your schedule. I don't care what your obligations are. You must find time for your joy triggers. Like I said, mine could be crochet, but yours could be reading. You do that by yourself, right? Maybe that triggers joy. It could be planting in the garden. Could be harvesting your tomatoes. I don't know. Whatever it is that you're doing, don't judge it. Don't try to analyze why does it bring you joy. It just brings you joy. And I really want you to identify it from something that is just of yourself. And let me know down in the comments too, some of your joy triggers, because nature is a massive one of mine. Moonbathing naked, my crystals, like those are all joy triggers for me. Doing my cards, my tarots in the morning, like balance, energy work, shaman work, connecting with the earth, sitting in gratitude. Gratitude brings me great joy. So when you think of that and like really start thinking about that, right? You know how you're always thinking of all the things that you need to get done and all of the things that weigh heavy on you, and okay, that's fine. It's reality. That's why we have the journals. But think of how you feel when you're even just thinking about these joy triggers and make them attainable. I'm sure one of my joy triggers would be being in Greece. I'm sure that would be one of them, but I've never been, so I don't know that. But in my brain, I know what works for me here. And don't think it has to do with money. You could literally read a free book from the library. It's free. So don't think of joy triggers and things that bring fulfillment and so much abundance to your life as needing to have X amount of dollars or being wealthy or famous. Listen, that's fine and that's great and it's a good goal, but that doesn't bring joy. I can promise you that. That doesn't bring joy. There's a lot of times people see other people's life and think, oh my God, that must be amazing. And yeah, I'm sure it does. And like people can even say that about me. I'm like, yeah, I have tons of things that I'm extremely grateful and I do enjoy. Number one, I worked my ass off to get here. But number two, I still have those times that I'm like, okay, just because you have something doesn't mean it's going to bring you joy. That always has to come inside. So a good rule of thumb is to know that you must do your healing inside out, not outside in. It can't be about other people around you. It has to be coming from here and here only. So the first step, and I want to know what they are down here, are your joy triggers. I want you to identify them, and I want you to incorporate different ones or all of them as often as you can in your schedule, but at least once a day. Minimum of once a day. That's correct. You heard me. Once a day. That's imperatively important for you. So this is you carving out time to focus on you, figure out what you like, make sure you're taking time for you. So you guys always say, I don't know how to start by doing self-love. I'm giving you the foundation. Here's the foundation. Let's establish those joy triggers. Let's get joyful.